too many people do the obvious, and there's another group of people who overcomplicate. What you're trying to look is for that sweet spot between seeing something that nobody else is seeing yet, but still giving yourself a high probability of success. I've seen this. My old boss at GLG, Noam Gottesman, would say, when I would get a little bit carried away by doing some kind of weird option structure, he'd say, listen, Raoul, if you want to scratch your ear, you don't put your arm all the way around your head to scratch your ear. You just scratch your ear. So if you want to go long the euro, buy the euro. Why have you got this stupid And it was the keep it simple, stupid idea that I see so many people still to this day do, and I hear them on Real Vision. That's overcomplicating stuff. So there is a balance between being too simple, in which case it's too bloody obvious for everybody, or too complicated that the trade never works anyway. And so many people have lost their entire careers doing that, particularly option guys. They always overthink everything. So it's that sweet spot between being fast, not overthinking it, but thinking it through further than most people do in a shorter period of time.
A prolonged slump in the prices of assets characterizes the crypto market in 2022. The combination of local and macroeconomic factors has impacted the price of these assets. The stock market has also experienced the same bearish trend, with popular stock Nasdaq 100 declining by nearly 33% in the last month. The S&P 500 also lost 8% of its value in the same month. Bitcoin and most cryptocurrencies are correlated to stock prices, although there has been a decoupling over the months. The U.S. Federal Reserve has also increased rates before considering a softer position due to widespread outcry from the general population. However, Raoul Pal stated that these rates could not keep these assets down forever, and cryptocurrencies and stocks would make a recovery.
I've never lacked confidence because I'm confident in myself. That doesn't mean I'm arrogant or in any way think that I'm something special. I just, from a very young age, my father used to hold parties or whatever, and me and my sister would serve drinks and nibbles, and we would socialize with adults. So I was never scared of meeting people. And, there were some pretty fancy people who come along to these things, and I would just treat them as equals and they would treat me as equals. And I learned that. And that was another trick before we get into the trade thing, is I had a secret weapon. The secret weapon was my name, which nobody can really pronounce, including myself. And everyone pronounces it differently, however they feel. So I would always just use my first name. So I would call up Paul Tudor Jones, get to his assistant or the person who ran the trading desk, say, can I speak to Paul? And they would say, who's speaking? I'd say, it's Raoul. Sure, Raoul, hold on. Right? Nobody else did that. It's like, oh, it's Bob Smith from Goldman. But there was only one Raoul. And so the moment that assistant would call Paul or Stan or whoever it was, they would only use my first name. So they assumed we were friends. And those people felt I was a peer because they only knew me they didn't know me as Bob Smith from Goldman. They knew me as Raoul. It was a genius piece of marketing.
Raoul Pal, a former executive of Goldman Sachs, believes that risk-on assets such as crypto and equities are set for a bullish run. He believes that this will eventually happen as the macroeconomic climate becomes better.
My economic indicators had bottomed. They got as bad as they were going to get, and they'd started to rise. But my emotion was telling me, this is not over yet. We're going to go to the logical conclusion. It's when you kind of impose your will on the markets, and you see it. I see it now. I see it. I've seen it in different periods of time where people impose what they think it should be, not what it is. So I'm like, this is the comeuppance of the financial system. This is the big one. And it was a big one, right? It was catastrophic, but I thought it should be more. Down 50%, that's nothing. We need total wipeout here. This is what we're going to get punished for the leverage that we've taken. And so my indicators were picking up to say the business cycle had bottomed. And I had constructed a narrative in my head that the business cycle would roll over again and create another new low. I had no evidence to support that. What it was emotion telling me that's what I wanted. I just had a huge success of 2008. I was now feeling hubristic. I thought I was invincible. Of course I would nail this. And imagine the glory if I got it right again, that the market rolls over and that it didn't mean revert. And then we went through decades of markets not going back to the highs. And if I called that, then I would be amazing, right? Every time I've done this, every time I've started to believe my shit smells of roses, I've had my nose rubbed in it.
Paul stated that the money supply in the world's financial systems mainly controls BTC. He firmly believes that Bitcoin will lead the revival of other crypto assets.
I don't mind losing. I don't know. There's something about competition against other people, particularly people that you're, friends or those close around you, that it doesn't motivate me. I don't mind the competition of myself against the markets or whatever it is, where it's kind of faceless and you're trying to figure it out and it's based on you. But yeah, I'm just not a competitive person, which is people find hard to believe, but I'm not.
Most investors are interested in high interest rates and the chances of them increasing in the future. Paul took this in stride, downplaying the importance of the rate as not big an issue as people believe. According to him, high-risk assets like stocks and crypto will still gain even with an increase in interest rates by the Federal Reserve.
My dad was in marketing. So he was like European marketing director for Xerox. He was in the copying machine industry, which at the time was the fast-growing, sexy tech industry. And so he was in marketing, but I was a kid of the 80s, right? I grew up on my bicycle around the 80s and would see the rise of, people with red braces and Porsches and champagne, and the 80s thing happened, right?
Oh, especially in the UK, right?
Oh, yeah, really. It was huge in the UK. And you can't help but notice that, this massive new wealth that accumulated the Thatcher years. And so when I was interested in finance, I was reading about it because it felt like it was cool to me. Much like people might read about startup and entrepreneurial life now, because you're dreaming about what your future self is. But I also liked marketing, understood it. And it was actually after university, I did economics and law at university, but tried to do as much financy stuff as possible, but also was focusing on marketing. And it was the only university that would accept me, by the way. So it wasn't like I went to the best university. I went to the only one that would take me. And I was speaking to a friend of Dad's birthday, and he said, "Raoul, what are you going to do?" And I graduated in 1990, which was a recession, which was a terrible year to graduate. And I said, "Well, I'm interested in marketing, and I've been interviewing. I've got at home, still got 100 rejection letters from all the companies I wrote to, many of who I worked for later. But I was interviewing at places like Gillette, and I wanted to do marketing." And I couldn't get any interviews at banks, but that was the other thing. And I said to this guy, I said, I'm thinking about marketing or finance. And he looked at me and said, really simple, Raoul. He goes, you can go and work for a great marketing company like Mars, and they'll give you free Mars bars. Or you can go and work for a bank, and they'll give you free money. And it was like,
ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. It's like, yeah, it's the same job, right? You're doing basically sales or marketing. And so, but one pays a lot more. And so that's how I ended up. I'm a big believer in manifesting your own destiny. I kind of see it and then make it happen. And so I just made it happen. And I got there eventually, fought my way in, went through circuitous routes, started at a company called Telerate, which was like Bloomberg at the time. In fact, it was the number two. Reuters was number one. Telerate was number two. I got a job in the graduate training program there. I then got promoted to a salesman really quickly. And then focused on getting into a trading desk. And I went to a company called James Capel, which was a very kind of posh brokerage house that was part of HSBC in equity derivatives. And then my boss resigned 6 months later and I became the boss.
So what are your thoughts on Raoul Pal's top trades in life? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.